Hey, welcome back everyone. Rob Marzullo here from Ram Studio Comics. In today's video, I'm going to walk you through drawing this hulking behemoth and talk about a little bit of the process. Before we get started, I also want to let you know there's a link in the description box below that will give you a discount code to my Gumroad. This is a time of year where I offer 50% off all my Gumroad items. So hopefully you'll look into that, take advantage of it. If there's anything that you want to check out, courses, brushes, things like that. And that'll be good till the end of January, in which case the link will still be there, but it'll be for a different offer in case you're watching this video after the fact. Okay, so with that, let's go ahead and jump on in and talk about drawing this muscle-bound brute. So what we're going to do here is first establish the length of the proportions. So you'll see me drawing this very rough skeletal structure. I want to also figure out the heads tall of this particular character. I think I end up going with 6 heads tall, yep. So essentially, this character would probably be about 8 or 9 heads tall based on the size of the head in relationship to the body. But with the posture of him leaning over, and just so you know, those two angled lines on the torso, that's me trying to make sure that I keep that perspective in mind, that the torso is receding back into space prospectively, meeting the pelvis, and the legs come out prospectively. So to influence that leaned over posture. And I think that's very important because what happens is with a character that's kind of muscle on top of muscle, I always feel that they look more massive and more powerful if you change the posture. One of the artists that come to mind with this type of drawing is Dale Kean, did the Hulk, one of my favorite Hulk artists. Even Jim Lee, the way he would draw Maul, he would do this a lot where the character was leaned over like this. And I always thought that gave a more massive feel to the big muscle-bound brutes. You know, try whatever you want, but posture's a big one. But the head's proportion is another one. Like, you can always make a character look more massive by giving them a little head. You can also make them look more massive, and this goes with drawing characters and creature design. You can make a monster or something like that look more massive by giving it little eyes. So proportions are a very big factor. Now, the other thing I'll say about proportions as it pertains to the anatomy is that when you're drawing anatomy of a character like this, you kind of want to widen things out a bit. You want to try to pack in more information. I guess the way I'm trying to put it is it's almost the same skeletal structure as a regular person, but you're packing on the muscle. If you think of it that way, I think that influences the posture. It also influences the way that you build up the muscle. And I'm really struggling with that arm. Please disregard my mistakes there. So the other thing I think that's important with drawing these types of characters is kind of forcing things into a smaller area. So, for instance, this is really important with foreshortening as well. And there's a little bit of foreshortening to the posture and the anatomy here. But as you start to do more of that, like the same characters running and bursting through a wall or punching, towards screen, towards camera, whatever, you need to start compressing information. So a lot of it is like if you take, again, perspective and foreshortening, and you take the same muscles that you would draw in a straight downward pose and you compress it, you overlap it more. It's very important because it forces you to realize that you can make better use of the space on the page. You'll see a lot of artists get very dynamic with that, and they're able to like get more information at a panel. And I think that those same techniques apply to drawing characters like this because, again, you have this muscle on muscle kind of effect going on. Now keep in mind this part where I've already kind of refined the muscles and now I'm doing some line weight. I just want to point out, notice that I'm not tracing every muscle. It's really kind of hard to fight the urge sometimes when drawing these types of characters because you almost feel like, well, if I trace every muscle, it'll make them look more powerful, more ripped, right? But the bad thing about that is it actually tends to hurt the look of the anatomy. In fact, I'll even go as far as to say that I think that a lot of artists will hide the fact that they don't know as much about anatomy by not drawing every piece of anatomy. Hint towards areas, use your shadows properly, and you can generally have style take over a little bit. And, if you don't trace every particular muscle group, then it's not going to expose that you don't really know where they go as much, I guess, is the way I look at it. But also just the shapes of shadows and hinting to shaded areas or shapes of muscles just seems to look more impressive, and it's actually easier to do. So it serves a few different purposes, I think, when drawing comics. You can do a lot of I think a lot of artists will refer to much of it like negative space drawing, or I guess it's either that or shapes of shadows, but it's really, like veins are a great way to do that. You don't want to draw every vein, it looks silly, but if you just shade one side of the vein and shade the way that it reacts to the other part of the muscle it's overlapping, you can see that in the forearms a little bit. It tends to have a very more impressive feel than if you were to try to draw veins all over the character. So take it as you will. That's just another tip on that. But as I get into this, I start to add a little bit of shadow here and there. I really want to shade back areas like the lats that are behind the arms and show that depth that you're going to get from, the lats to the biceps to the chest, because they're all kind of overlapping in layers at this point. And then also, I'm going to probably start doing more of these videos where I start shading more. And you guys can let me know in the comments section below what you think of that. I think it's time, because as I do more of these pose videos, they're great to have. It gives you a sense of the underlying structure, but then it probably leads you to think, okay, but how do I shade this character? So I want to try to figure out ways to make videos where I can give you more of that information in stages so that you can learn. But I think it's important as the best next step, because drawing these characters is great. Learn about the line weight. I like to render. That's what I'm doing here. But I need to show you how to shade. And I'll be honest, I'm a bit apprehensive in that area because my shadows aren't the most confident with my work. But that's always the greatest reason to practice and hone your skills. So that's what I'll be doing. So let me know what types of videos you want to see on the shading aspect, and I'll make sure to bring those your way. Another thing that we'll be studying in the future will be more backgrounds and more panel creation. I think that's very important as well. So I've had a lot of requests for backgrounds, and I've been a little bit late on getting those to you, so forgive me for that. I got a lot of irons in the fire, but I think that backgrounds are very important, and we need to get a little bit more going with that, whether it be cityscapes. I think panel creation too. And like even full page layout has been requested more than once lately. And along with that, just delving into each panel and saying, okay, we got this panel where there's an upshot and the character's looking up and somebody's flying overhead, or whatever the case may be. And maybe we can figure out a way to kind of work together on that. Maybe I'll do some different polls through the community tab that YouTube's modified, which has been great. And then we'll try to narrow it down to some specific ideas. And just, again, remember to comment in the section below. Give me whatever ideas you have. I don't get a chance to respond to every single comment at this point, but I try to read every single one. So just kind of take solace in that I am listening. But unfortunately, it gets a little bit time intensive to respond to every comment in the way that I like. I don't like to just write, thanks, great, sounds good. I like to get into the comments when I can, but that does take an absorbent amount of time. So as always, I appreciate you watching the channel. I appreciate the support. Keep drawing, keep having fun, and I will talk to you soon.